Welcome to another episode of Inside the Headset with the Palestine High School head football coach, Kyle Ralph. I am Wes Anderson, special teams coordinator, wide receiver coach. And coach, as we get ready for, in my opinion, probably one of the best halves of football that's been played in your time here, the second half against Cathedral. We talked in the last episode kind of about how we felt walking off the field and we felt okay down 10-7. And one of the things you said at the end of the episode we did on Friday was that you wanted to kind of have a barometer of what the mood was with the boys in the locker room. So kind of let's pick it up from there, and you walk in the locker room. I know we had our conversation kind of as coaching staff and made a couple of adjustments there before we went in and talked to the boys, but we'll go in and talk to the boys and kind of take me from there.
Yeah, we made a few adjustments, and I remember obviously the power play they'd been running, which they're going to come out and like they should, they're going to keep running it here in a second. And we just really had to settle into that play some. So we talked to the defense about how we wanted to approach that, and then how we obviously just recap, guys. This is what we practiced all week here. Other than that, there really weren't a lot of adjustments we made defensively. It was just kind of settling the guys in a little bit. Offensively, we were kind of getting what we thought we were going to get. So a lot of it, again, was just more so kind of let's revisit everything. Let's make sure we've got the blocking schemes proper. And I mean, what you're going to see here in the second half is really the same plays all over again, just run with maybe a hair better execution. And again, it just sounds silly, but the ball just kind of bouncing our way a couple of times. It's a little bit of a back and forth, but I think both teams, when you've got two good programs like that, that both believe in their systems and both believe in what they do, halftime adjustments, I wouldn't say are quote unquote adjustments as much as people would believe. Again, there's a couple small things that we just wanted to revisit with the kids and just make sure that, we were on the same page with a couple of things, I suppose. But you're essentially going to see both teams come out and do exactly what they did the first half, because that's what got us to this point. And one of my major philosophies is if you can't win with your good stuff, then you're not going to win, but you don't deserve to win either. And I think the Cathedral was very much the same way. So what you're going to see from them really is the stuff that got them there. And we just execute really well. Some of the little things that you saw in the first half stop happening to us to a degree. But all that being said, when I came in the locker room, and got to talk to the kids were really fine, which gave me a lot of positivity. There wasn't, any hanging heads or any of the negativity that you thought may come from being behind. It was a really mature group of kids anyway. I mean, those guys had played a lot of football and they'd gone through a lot of ups and downs in regards to games. So I wasn't entirely surprised by that, but it was still obviously a really good feeling as a coach to walk into a locker room when you're losing at halftime for the first time essentially in 3 years, and the kids just be so prepared to go to the next step. Okay, all right, that first half happened, it's over, it's done. Now what do we got to do? What's the plan here? So I felt really good about that. I felt really positive about that. And I really just told the kids exactly what I kind of said at the end of the film on Friday, was pretty much, guys, we're playing some good football here. I mean, we just got to get the ball to bounce our way. And like I said, I kind of recapped some of the unfortunate things that happened that maybe make that game a little bit different. And I said, look, if we just keep playing hard, we keep playing smart, we keep doing things the right way here. I said, the ball's got to bounce our way sometime. And I know none of them played in this game, but I bet about every single one of them was at this game. I actually referenced the 2014 Columbus East game where we were down at the half and we were down in the fourth quarter, and made a great comeback just by sticking to our guns. I mean, we didn't do anything different in that Columbus East 2014 comeback game. things just kind of went our way a little bit in the second half, and we just kept plugging away and playing hard. So I told him, I said, this game reminds me a lot of that. And the thing that we learned from that game is if you just keep on going, things are bound to go your way at some point here. We got to come out, we've got to play hard, and we got to play good football. And again, for the most part, that's pretty much exactly what we do. We weather a little bit of adversity, and then, the tide kind of turns and things start going our way. We start making some plays. And, I think the big thing about this game that a lot of people will remember it for is, you talked about this a couple of the films ago. I mean, this is probably one of those games that people remember most because, man, once momentum swung our way and that avalanche started, I mean, it got going in a hurry, and we just scored in a flurry of points there, and that was it. I mean, this game went from us being down to potentially us being down 6 to only being down 3 to then us being ahead by 4, and then all of a sudden this game ends up 35-10, and it's like, whoa, what just happened here in the back end of this game? But again, we hadn't played bad football. I mean, I thought we were playing really, really well. And things start to kind of swing our way a little bit, and our kids feed off of that. And, man, it was just an explosive second half that you're about to watch.
Let's get her going here. So I think one of the things that gave me a little bit of pause coming back out was that we had to kick the ball to them. So, not only are we behind 7-3, but we're going to need to make a stop here. I know we haven't said in the couple of games from this year that we've watched, we haven't said Chris Gould's name yet, but I'll tell you what, this dude was an absolute special teams warrior for us this year. This kid did an incredible job. He was on pretty much every special team that we had, except extra point, and he was our backup holder. So, it seems like, and I know you and I have this conversation a lot, but it seems like every year that we've always managed to find one of those kids. Maybe sometimes it's a senior, sometimes it's not. In this case, it was Chris that, honestly, I know you and I have talked about this a lot. I think he would have played for a lot of other teams in our conference, and was a little bit snake bit to be kind of our 6th DB among those group of 5 that had basically started together for 3 years. But here's a great play by him on his kickoff team to kind of set this edge against that big tight end and kind of drop anchor and run that kid out of bounds.
Yeah, Chris was definitely a talented player, and I stand by that statement. I think he would have started for even some of the playoff teams that we played without question. I think he could have started for some of them as well. Even deep into the playoffs, I think he would have started for a couple of those teams. But we had 5. Now, a couple of them obviously chose to not do so, but, I mean, we had 5 college-level defensive backs. I mean, Maxon's going to go to Toledo, and Brody's going to play at Hanover. Luke could have played Division III ball if he chose to. Riker had some, strong NAIA looks and chose to just not play and just go to school instead. And Cade could have easily done the same thing if he would have chosen to. So he just chose to not play either. So, we had 5 guys that could have played some level, between Division III to obviously Max on the high end at Division I, but could have played college football. And yeah, that's kind of what I said to the day is we get going here, that special team for us is really important. And it's not that you have to be a starter to play it, but our starters are essentially going to play it. What we're looking for then is those 1 or 2 special kids a year that can really find their way into special teams and make their niche. And boy, Chris was one of those guys this year for sure, and just did a spectacular job. So,
when you look at our kickoff personnel here before we get going, there's Chris right there. We'll talk about that's our starting adjuster. Also starts at receiver. Tyler Prangy is kind of one of those exceptional effort kids. He'll play linebacker for us in 2020. There's our middle linebacker. There's Kate Large, who's a two-way starter for us. Richie Clevenger plays linebacker. Maxon, Canfield, Riker standing down here. This is A.J. Ryerson, who's a freshman, who's kind of one of those other exceptional effort kids who really did a nice job for us on this team this year. But for the most part, I mean, heck, that's 8 starters out of 10, 7 starters out of 10. So, we certainly practice what we preach there. So as we get going here, I'll say this: I think I was a little surprised to see them come out and take 2 deep shots here right out of the jump. This is not legal, for the record.
No. We certainly do miss a couple here early on. They've got some issues coming out, and there's going to be a couple penalties this half that don't get called that start really rising my stress level up a little bit. But yeah, they're going for the throat here pretty early on. So we've got that one really well covered over and under on the backside, and no penalty on that illegal motion there. And, that starts the second half off on the wrong foot again, I suppose, to be honest. But here we go. We finally get one forced, and they essentially try to kind of do almost the same thing. We've got really good over-under coverage on that that side of the ball, and Riker makes a nice interception here and gets the ball back. And again, that momentum swing, you're starting to feel a little bit here. This opening drive, we're trying to come back with some of the information that we had gathered from the first half here when we get the ball back on offense. But that's a huge play by Riker on this interception. It's just a really nice job. Get a little bit of pressure on the quarterback. This is a good play. So we come back out offensively. We want to come right back into that formation that you've seen quite a bit of here, and just see if we can continue to gather just a little bit more intel on it if possible. We feel like we're getting a lot of what we want, but they may have made some adjustments to it. It doesn't look like they've done a bunch. Again, games like this, the adjustments, I think a lot of people feel like are just some huge crazy thing. But, teams like this, you're going to continue to do what you do because, like I said, that's what's gotten you there. It's the teams that change everything up all of a sudden because they think, oh, this is a big game and we're playing New Pal, or, oh, we're playing Cathedral. We better have this, this and this ready. It's like that doesn't work oftentimes. And we've had a way easier time, truthfully, with teams that stray from what they've done just because their kids don't practice it, So anyway, we come back out with a little bit of inside zone here on first down, just trying to get us into a little bit of a safety net play and just make sure we're going to get, a little bit of what we think we're going to get. So come back on second down with literally the exact same formation here and go to one of our passing plays. Unfortunately, Lincoln gets his elbow hit right as he triggers this ball. We've got a wide open guy here. Not wide open, but we've got a pretty good throw here.
Is that same play from the first half that we talked about?
Yeah, this is kind of a yeah. So I think we run scissors from this one, and we've got a good shot on the wheel to Riker here because he's matched up essentially as you see this play out. That's just Verts then.
Yep.
So Riker ends up splitting them. We kind of split that corner, and he gets his elbow hit, so we can't throw it, which again is unfortunate. So, but he has a good scramble, gets a first down. This is just not a good throw, and that's just not a good throw. It happens. We've got a really nice concept here, a little bubble China play, and we just don't make a good throw.
Actually run the wrong route out here. This was the moment where, I started to, we've run now 3 offensive plays in the series. A little bad luck with the elbow on the last one. I mean, we just completely whiff on one of the easiest throws in the book here, which is a 4-yard short curl here, basically a hitch. And it's starting to get a little bit of doubt creeping in my mind about whether that luck is going to flip or not. Because I mean, the first 2 or 3 plays, it's still not gone our way here.
Well, hold on here for a couple more plays, and you're going to really doubt yourself.
That is correct.
So we get another one. We run outside zone here from spread, and we've got a pretty good look at this one. We just get that, like I talked about, those big corners that are actually linebackers. They've made a little bit of an adjustment here to this, but not much. Blake really passes this guy up, and he shouldn't. But this was good information because, outside zone looks really nice right here. If we would just get a hat on 44, and Blake makes a decision here, and again, I mean, they're on the field and we're not. You look back at the tape and you think, man, three ought to try to dig him out. Well, it's not super practical to begin with, but he's also making decisions on the field, in a hurry.
You see a little moment of doubt right here too.
Yeah,
from Blake, where he kind of thinks about it. Yeah, no, I'm gonna pass him.
But outside zone looks pretty good, and we haven't run it exclusively, without blocking. What we've been doing is what you saw in that first half, where we've been reading the nose guard. This is just a straight up outside zone call to kind of negate him as well, because they're crashing the backside so hard with those 4 eyes and stuff, and then him in the middle is a huge problem. So
yeah,
we'll come back to that a little bit later on. Here's another pass. This was another one of these kind of things that we had game planned for, and they don't do what we expected them to do. So normally when you run this set here, those big linebacker guys will put an extreme amount of pressure on your tackles and your quarterback. So we have these kind of nub tight end singular routes built in to take advantage of that, and this kid actually reads it real well and drops. So we don't get that look, and then Lincoln pulls the ball down, and this is one I argued, but, I'm going to argue it some, even in, like, right now, his momentum is stopped. Like, he can't go anywhere. In my opinion, the whistle should have been blown here. There's literally like 5 guys just abusing my quarterback here. Normally right about now, the whistle would usually blow. Well, they don't, and they allow him to get drugged all the way down to the ground. And this is one of those moments where you think, oh, my God, it may just not turn our way tonight. The big kid just rips the ball out of Lincoln's hands as Lincoln falls down. And, in the split second, it looks like maybe his knees are down, maybe they aren't. But either way, in my opinion, the whistle should have gotten blown here. First of all, I would say that most crews are really quick whistled on a quarterback. This is a general statement, even though our guy runs the ball a whole bunch. A lot of crews are real quick whistle when a quarterback runs the ball. We've even had some quick whistles on Charlie running the ball where he's still churning his legs and moving forward alone, and we've had people blow a whistle, and then he breaks out of it. And it's like, why in the world? But anyway, this is one of those things, too, where you just are like, I'm not really sure if we're going to –
Yep.
we're going to turn the corner on old Lady Luck here or not.
And for me, after this and when that, I don't know if doubt's the right word. Maybe it is. Maybe it's just a little bit of concern. For me right now as a special teams coordinator, I'm starting the gears are starting to turn for me a little bit about thinking about ways that we can really manufacture points if we have to. We've shown a punt block look, but I'm starting to kind of think in my head about, do we need to draw one on the board? Can we run something different? What can we do kickoff wise? I know we don't ever rep a fake field goal, but, I'm kind of starting to think about, what can we do? I'm in a mindset now where I'm thinking if we can find a way to get 7 in the specials, we may need it. Thankfully, we don't need it, but that's kind of some of my internal dialogue here, especially while we're on defense and I'm signaling the plays in, but kind of as the plays are going, I'm kind of starting to think a little bit about, what we can do to make a big play in the special teams at this point or going forward if we really truly need it. So this is going to be a really long drive for them here.
Yeah, they marched this one down, and some of that's once again, them, having some good plays, and some of that is assisted by a couple of things. So they're going to stick with a lot of this kind of side to side stuff, which we thought they may do anyway. And the power read is kind of a combination of a horizontal and a vertical stretch type thing. So it's a really nice play. But that that little pitch pass jet's pretty good as well. Here's Purdue. This one just gashes us.
Big one. Yep.
Yeah. This is what happens. Everyone thinks, oh, new pal. No, they're just we literally make 3 critical errors on this play. So Avon gets way too close to the line of scrimmage on this play, which is something we told them to not do, and essentially just gets buried in here on these down blocks. And then our nose guard goes to the wrong gap, which essentially leaves us absolutely nobody on the front side of this play. And then you can see Hunter is just kind of standing there, not reading his guard. He should be following that guard out there around the edge, and then Richie actually goes outside to the wrong gap and double gaps us. So the front side A and B gap on this play actually have nobody in them. Maybe our worst play of the night, to be quite honest, on defense. Might be the worst play of the entire night for us here. We get essentially a triple critical error, and when you play teams that are this good, this is what happens. You can see, there's nobody in the front side 2 gaps here. And we just give them this one. This is really bad.
Came right back to it there.
Pretty much come back with the exact same thing. We get a holding penalty on this one here because I've been screaming about holding all night long, and Matt almost gets his jersey ripped off of his body here, and they finally call one for him. So now we get him in 1st and 20, which is huge. It's a big spot for us.
And Orange just throws this one away. A really good choice. They had this little screen set up to the boundary here.
Really good job by that's Kai or Matt up top, and that Richie up top there. Those guys kind of figure it out pretty quickly, and that tackle releases, and the other offensive linemen release pressure, and those guys do a good job of bailing and picking out of there. You can see Matt essentially completely, or is that Noah? That's Noah on that play. Stops in his tracks and backs out of there.
Yeah, that screen is dead, and you really didn't have another choice at that point.
By the way, this is also another penalty that they don't call. I think they have 2 of these here. They've got like 4 linemen downfield, and he throws this ball on the throwaway. He throws it downfield, and they don't call it. And I am absolutely just screaming about this being a penalty. It hates to sound like I'm complaining, but there were just so many things that happened in this game where, you almost feel like it just felt like we were in the twilight zone. Like what's actually going on tonight? There was a play earlier in this series where they had another illegal motion because they don't get set, and they don't call that either, and it's like the amount of penalty yards that should have happened, it would have doomed them in this game. This is a good call here. Call by them. They throw a little bubble. We've got a loose coverage on with cover 2 here, and they carry us off with a vertical and throw a nice little bubble here, and it's just a good play call. This is well done by them.
They like this. This is one I've seen them run quite a bit, and then they take this big tight end and just kind of hook him up right there in the middle too. So you talked a little bit about in the Center Grove thing and our sticks play. You talked a little bit about triangle. That's as good as it gets right there. Mm-hmm. Here's your triangle right there if I could draw. But it's a really nice little play design. We run a version of this from 2x2. Actually run from 3x1 as well, but it's not quite the same way. So we got them in 3rd and what was that, about 7?
Yeah, we're in a good situation right now. they come back to kind of one of their tried and true plays, and we make a nice little stop here, really. So this is the same thing. I mean, it's just power read. There goes your guard pull, and we do a nice job here and fill it. And then this was probably, this one was a little bit on us as coaches here. I know Coach Mack wanted to get, put a little bit of pressure in his face, figuring that he's going to throw the ball to the field again because that's what they've been doing. When we bring that pressure, they got a nice little RPO called here, and he executes it pretty well. And Richie tips his blitz way too early, and the quarterback sees it. And, he throws this ball behind this big tight end, but the tight end makes a really nice catch. I mean, we're again a hit away from this being incomplete. But, again, I mean, this is we gamble a little bit. I think Coach Mack puts us in a really good play. We get the pressure in the face that we wanted, but Oren makes a nice read, and he makes a nice little throw, and and that's just what happens sometimes, and that's just the way that it goes. So,
how like sometimes in a baseball game when you're watching and you see a pitcher put his glove over his mouth and something indiscernible is said. Watch that fella right there. That was not a positive reinforcement there, I don't believe. All right, so now 1st and goal here, down tight.
So we're up against it here for sure, and this is really one of the hallmark series here of our defense of this entire season. I mean, we are backed up against it right now, and they had been kind of sledgehammering us on these short yardage things, that bigger tailback. So they bring him back in the game. And
the Langdon kid, right? Is that right? That's Langdon, right? Or is Langdon the other kid?
Yeah, I think that's him. So he was kind of their sledgehammer kind of guy, and they bring him back in here for this. And we do a really nice job on this series, obviously. This first down play is big for us. They're now they're going to be 2nd and goal after this here from the 6 or 7, and they come back with a lot more of their misdirection stuff, give the ball to him wide, which I was really surprised by.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a pretty fast kid, but they've been using him to really just bang the inside, and so we essentially just run him down on this play and take him out of bounds, and we get a third and pretty manageable here, to be honest.
This is something they actually had not run a lot on tape. Very rarely in what we had seen, they're going to motion him across this way. So that this is what we call a flash, or what I call a flash series, where it's kind of like zone read, but you flip it over where the line is going to block to the right, and they're going to read Kyle on this right here. And basically that this is a little bit different version of our quarterback zone, where if Kyle comes down like this, he's going to give this ball to the running back going out this way. And if Kyle expands, widens, or sits, then the quarterback is just going to pull it, and he's going to run his inside zone. This is not something they'd run a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, it really is just their
power. Nice little wrinkle.
Minus all the we call this inverted veer. So, I mean, that's really kind of essentially what it is. A lot of
there's the guard. I lied. There's the guard right there. Sorry. He was so late. Getting around there, I didn't even see him. So it is power read.
I mean, it's the same concept. This is just power read, but the one you were talking about is what we call inverted veer, which is something that's a pretty popular thing in football right now as well. But I was a little surprised they went kind of wide with that. But again, that play had been killing us, so it makes sense as to why you call it right there. But we've definitely buckled in, and we're playing a lot better assignment football right now. That's for sure. So we get them in 3rd down here, and this is actually really interesting here. So they're in a formation now that we wanted to make a check to, and I think a little bit of that plays into our hands here because in these scenarios we felt like we knew what was coming, and so I think a little bit of this is preparation, that our kids recognize what's in front of their face here, and we had prepared them really well for that. I think a little bit of this is Cathedral had only seen us line up like this a couple of times throughout the game anyway, and it probably seemed like really random or like, you know, a little bit of a hit or miss type thing, but it was actually an auto check to one of their sets that we had that we really liked the way that a 3-4 played against this and not the stack. So we actually jump into a 3-4 here because of the formation, not because of where we're out on the field. It's strictly based on their formation and what plays we thought they would run from this, and one of them was power read. So it's just kind of, again, one of those things where preparation and coaching and intelligence on the field and talent on the field all come together, and we make a big stop right here. This is just a great job by our kids.
It's a formation, I think, that in our nomenclature we would call dark rock wing right. So dark, 2 tight ends, rock, 2 backs, wing to the right, and this is a single receiver who's really screwed in here tight because they're into the boundary. So we get the check, and you were right. It's power read. This was the other thing they really liked was this, and then they're going to pitch it. You know, they bring everybody in tight, and then they try to outflank you on this little pitch, but they fake the pitch. Here comes a power read, and Avon Jones makes a great play.
Yeah, we've got this stop both ways. This is a good job by our kids here. And again, I think a little bit of that front change might have messed with them some, but it also put our kids – I think these are, you know, a lot of the little things that go into some of this stuff. Like this was something that takes a lot of tape study to get done, but it put our kids in the best position against a specific thing to stop their specific play. And – you know, you can put as much on a piece of paper as you want to, but if your kids can't do it or don't do it, it's worthless. And like I said, that play right there was a combination of a lot of really good things coming down to one single play. And boy, I mean, did it pay off for us in a major way. So credit to the kids and the staff there on that one.
And then a big miss here. We've talked about this particular kick a couple of times already in the series. Obviously, a really, really difficult kick here. 26-yarder from right on the left hash. And like we talked about, you know, their specialists have been a little bit inconsistent throughout the year. The technique there is this thing's going to be, from this point, right now, I can tell you he's going to miss this thing to the left.
That's a sharp. I mean, yeah, we've talked about these sharp field goals. This is a hard kick to make. I mean, we've struggled with it. Their guy pulls one just a hair to the left. I mean,
yep.
So we come down here, and again, after that first drive, we've gotten a little bit more information. I will say this: 2 things go to our advantage here. Obviously, one of them is that was a major momentum booster for our kids in regards to our defense actually buckling down and making a big stop. And again, we haven't played bad football. I mean, we've had a bad play or so, but we haven't played bad ball. But our defense really buckling in and making a great stop right there. And then, you know, for a lot of people who don't maybe understand, like, wait a minute, you know, why is the ball was in? So when you kick one from inside of the 20 and miss it, the ball comes back to the 20. So we don't get pinned in on our own 3-yard line here, which is huge. You know, that field goal, and I think I would have kicked it as well, to be honest. I think what they did was the right decision to make in that scenario, but that field goal cost them 17 yards of field position by missing it. And as a side note, we have had that happen to us as well. So, you know, that's something that I guess you I don't want to say you factor that in, but you just kind of understand, like, we're going to give field position away here if we don't hit this thing. And that's part of it. But yeah, that's 2 huge things that kind of come from that particular play is we get yards out of the miss, and our boys are, you know, the blood's pumping a little bit. And we've got some breathing room when our offense comes out to be able to move and honestly take a little bit of a gamble here, because if we're on our 3-yard line, these next 2 play calls don't happen.
Right.
I can't call either one of them, quite frankly, from our own 3. So it really works in our favor here in a major way. This one, we obviously eat a sack. We come back. and take a sack on that first play. We just get covered, and Lincoln does a good job of not making a mistake. But for those of you that have watched that first half, so we talked about how our verticals package, we had that number one receiver right where we wanted him. Now, so we've seen it twice. And we come back, and now the third time. So the first one, you remember, Lincoln just couldn't throw it. We got pressured. The second time, he got his elbow hit and physically could not actually throw the ball because his elbow got hit. Well, this time we get a clean pocket. He throws a pretty good hole shot right in here to Eric and drops it right in between essentially the corner and the underneath coverage. And Eric makes a really nice play on this ball, uses his big body to put it in between a smaller kid. We released Charlie on this one just in case here. If the vertical wasn't open, again, we released Charlie. That guy follows him, which keeps a linebacker out of all those windows as well, which is a nice addition. But this is a big play. This is a huge play for us. Gets us out of our own red zone, and again, just a massive momentum swing here. So come back to a little bit of inside zone and the comfort zone, and the next play you're going to see here is essentially what we just talked about. This is just going to be that outside zone play, but I changed the formation now so that we'll get number 44, the kid that gave us trouble. I run this into the strength instead of the weakness of the formation here to make sure that we can get that guy blocked. And we spring this one. This is a big-time play for us here. We get everybody blocked up. Brody does a great job on that kid, honestly, out there for giving up probably 35 pounds to that kid. And linemen do a good job up front. We run away from the big guy in the middle and stretch him. And Charlie makes a really nice double jump cut for a major, major touchdown for us here. Again, it's not rocket science. It's just using the data that we're gathering and remembering things as the game goes on as to how they lined up. And again, I know I've said this a couple of times here, but I think one of the big parts of play calling, I mean, you're not seeing a bunch of elaborate, crazy stuff from us. This is now the third game that we've done. It comes down to execution, and it comes down to evaluation. So my eval of these plays, like that outside zone previously and the midline outside zones that we've run previously, have been really good plays for us. And the couple that have gotten stopped were more because of a great play by their players or an execution, mistake by us possibly. It's not because it's a bad play. And that's something that you've got to really think through as a coordinator of, as you're calling things, you've got to also evaluate why things don't work if they're not working, and you remember back to the Center Grove evaluation,
Mm-hmm.
that was, I mean, we thought we could handle their guys up front a little bit, and we couldn't. We just couldn't. Those guys were way too big to be able to deal with a play like Iowa consistently for our guys up front. So I got away from it and got rid of it. This outside zone play looked really, really good. We just passed by a blocker. And so I want to come back to that because that's a good looking play. We just had, Blake made a decision on the field, and my thought was, boy, we have that. If we just make sure we have a hat on that guy, that's going to be a big play for us. I mean, that looks really nice. So, you can't just can something because it's no good one or two times unless the answer is, well, we're just not good enough tonight to get that done, or they're way better than we thought. We can't get this done. So it's something to think about.
So now 14-10.
Yeah, fans are hyped, kids are hyped. We're ready to go. Come out and they run inside zone right at us here again, and we make a nice play, throwing out in the flat here. Kid was their backup quarterback. That kid that's catching the ball is a pretty good athlete out there, receiver. So they throw one out here in the flat, and this is, in the moment, I was going to throw up, but in the, as the play then finished, probably one of my favorite plays of the season here. And this is something that, again, when people ask me, like, Coach, how do you guys do it? Like, how do your kid – look, here's the deal. We train our kids in a very specific way, and one of those things that we talk to our kids about throughout training and why we do the things that we do is to teach you to never quit, that quitting is not an option. And if you watch our kids' pursuit of the football and you watch how our kids play from start to finish in a football game, there is never any surrender in our kids. You have to physically beat us. Our kids aren't going to give up. And I think this is one of my favorite plays of the season by a great kid. So Luke Canfield comes in and quite frankly, makes a bad tackle attempt here from corner. So he gets in his shuffle bail, which is fine. And what he should do, what we work on, is keeping your feet broken down, patting your feet, and then making an outside hip tackle because he's the end run force player. Well, again, in the moment against a pretty good player, he doesn't do that. And he gets his feet out of whack and he goes inside and he gets beat by this kid and blows contain, which is a cardinal sin of defensive back play. Hunter hustles his butt off over here and he actually misses the tackle, but his hustle is also what causes what you're about to see. Luke doesn't give up on the play, gets up off of the ground, chases this kid down then after Hunter stalls him, and then rips a fumble out from this kid's arms, and we recover it. I mean, just one of the great hustle, never surrender plays that's happened. I mean, look at him get up off the ground here and go chase this back down and then make a big play. It's just spectacular. I mean, it really is. There's nothing else you can say about that. And this is such a huge moment in the game for us, and such a tremendous play by, a great kid and a senior, a guy that had been an all-state tailback. And then, obviously Charlie comes in and moves in and is a spectacular player in his own right. So Luke has to change positions and kind of is overshadowed by some of the DB talent that we've got back there. And boy, what a signature play for him. This is spectacular. So we get the ball back coming out here on offense and come right back to essentially one of our tried and true plays here. So we go right back with our midline outside zone read and get it blocked up. We get Charlie one-on-one, and the corner makes a mistake here and essentially fills the wrong hole. Charlie stretches this thing out really, really well. You can see him then put his foot down right there. I mean, that is a great jab cut for a big guy. He stretches that thing real well, sticks his foot down and gets vertical. Their corner over pursues it, thinking that he probably can't make that cut, and he does. And we're off to the races again.
We talked about the big guy a little bit early, and I think in our conversations over the weekend before the game and kind of as the week gone on was by the middle of the third, towards the end of the third, we really thought he was going to start to get tired. And they make them make a choice. Either they're going to take him out and put somebody smaller in, or they're going to leave him in. And he's late to get down in his stance here. He barely makes it in before we snap the ball, and you just see how little gas he has in the tank right here.
Yeah. Either one of those scenarios was a big advantage for us too.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
But yeah, this is big. And again, we're not going to block him. We're just going to read him here, and the linemen up front do a tremendous job. And again, Charlie makes a really nice play one-on-one. We rip off a huge chunk, and we're right back down in business here with, essentially no time off the clock from the previous touchdown. So again, once we're down here, I mean, there's no mystery to this. It's either going to be, run the ball, essentially, it's actually one of the things that we call run to win. We do a conditioning drill for this as well, but it's going to be run to win here, or we're kicking a field goal. The ball, in my mind at this stage, it is not going to go in the air from the 5-yard line, especially the way that our linemen have really been blocking the last couple of series here. I really feel like we've got some momentum going our way. We go with the outside zone. Outside zone midline look again here, get a good look at it, just kind of get tripped up, which is, again, it happens. Second goal from the 3, though. I mean, that's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
We go with the big guy again, pound it down in here, I think, to the 1 maybe.
And here comes the wrinkle right here. And
so this then is I'm going to call this later, but if you go back to the last play as to why I do what I do right here. So if you watch this play right here, on the read side of this, and this is something they've been doing to us anyway, but they crashed the backside of this play so hard. And I'll give our kids a lot of credit on this. We have this play in on a weekly basis, and we ran it the week prior to this a lot and really, really well. It is not something that I had fully anticipated for this game, to be quite frank. I did not think we would get the amount of pressure off of the weak side that they were giving us. So we essentially run split flow zone from down here. And what that means is I'm going to use the wing on one side of the play to essentially come across and block the guy on defense that's crashing to the opposite side of the play. So Maxon is going to come across the entire formation here, and he's going to block the guy that's giving us problems. So when you do that, obviously one guy on the other side, the side he just left, isn't going to be blocked, but Charlie can see that. I mean, he knows that's going to be a possibility when we call this play. What this does, though, is it gives it blocks Cathedral's player that they are squeezing down that's a surefire tackle. That they know we can't get him off of that side. So I send a guy across the formation to essentially pick that guy up so that we do get him. And again, this is something we haven't done yet in the game, and truthfully hadn't really planned to do. But when we called the play, all it is our inside zone play, and then the tag just sends Maxon across the ball to block. It is literally one of the easiest adjustments that we have, and it's something that, like I said, the sectional championship game against Franklin Community, we ran it, I mean, almost exclusively and almost to perfection. So the kids knew exactly what I wanted out of this play when I called it, and we get it, and we get a touchdown out of it, and now we're 21-10, and that momentum is really rocking and rolling here. So you're going to see that play come back here in a little bit for what's going to be the game ender, essentially the game ender.
A nice player by Chris Gould. A little rocket screen there.
Our defense has definitely settled in here too, which is a big part of this. This is a real nice play here by by Kyle on the bottom of your screen here, getting red. That's Will. That was Will on that play. Yep. Kyle sits there and doesn't give the guy anywhere to go. Yeah, and then Will makes a really nice play here from the interior. Yeah, that was
just pushes play. That center back.
Yeah, that was a big play by Will. Yeah, Kyle sits there and gives him nowhere to go, and then Will just really comes through and makes a nice cleanup play. So we're into the fourth quarter. You can see, and this is something that, I know it sounds wild, but we keep banking on the fact that our guys' conditioning is going to win us games late. We're really playing good ball right now. Our kids have got a lot in the tank still, and we're really starting to turn it on here on both sides of the ball.
This couple tackles are on 3rd and short.
Yeah, with that big running back they had, these were some tough scenarios for us here.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what, this play right here is a really nice play. I think this next play on this boot scramble is a really nice play by Hunter. Just an unbelievable hustle play, I think.
I'll say this before we go any further. I saw one of the scouting guys in Indiana was tweeting about the Langdon kid over the weekend, and watched his film, evaluated him, and really thinks he's a Saturday player. that he can play at the next level. And I would agree with that. I like that kid a lot. He is a hard runner. Here's the boot play. Or no, the next one. No, this is a boot play.
Yeah, I think this might be it.
Yep.
Yeah, this one where Hunter just makes an unbelievable effort play and, I mean, just flies across the field. I mean, he is essentially the linebacker on our defense's right, the offense's left. And when this boot scramble happens, I mean, he just explodes to the ball and makes an incredible play here to harass and pressure this quarterback. I mean, we've got good coverage and everything too, but this, again, is just one of those things where, you know, I quite frankly, a lot of linebackers on a play like this that I've watched, you know, when the boot would go away from them like this, that would be a time for them to take a play off. You know, they would almost just stand there and catch their breath and take a play off. You know, Hunter, that's not an option in our program. And he runs from the opposite hash. And, I mean, he's literally over there on the opposite hash and chases this kid down to the numbers on the other side of the field. It's just an unbelievable effort play.
Yeah, I'll give Hunter a little bit of a compliment here too. I think that's one of the things that he does really well. I mean, that kid's motor, it just doesn't turn off. Like, effort is never a problem with him. I mean, every play is a million miles an hour, which can be good and bad.
Yeah.
You know, and there's some bad too, but this is an example of when it's good. And, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he was a guy that came back. He hadn't played football really in essentially almost 2 years. He came back from basketball to want to play again because he'd missed it. And he's only a junior. And man, that was a nice shot in the arm for us with a high motor kid like that. So looking for some huge things from him this year for sure. But, you know, just want, you know, you want kids out there playing multiple sports, and he ended up missing football a ton, and, you know, big part of what we did.
Here's a bit of a cheap one here, in my opinion.
Yeah, we have this wheel covered really well. I mean, same thing. Maxon's got like a little arm bar. I mean, yeah, I really can't say a whole lot, but I'm not thrilled with this either. I mean, it is absolutely the technique that we teach in every single way that you could possibly think about it. And, you know, it is what it is. But I was not a fan of that particular call right there at all.
Nice play by Noah Mack in there.
Yeah, I mean, we're playing good football. This is a big-time stick by Riker here. This is a really nice hit by him. Jar this ball loose, too. And that's a 145-pound corner with a really nice hawk tackle. I mean, he is shoulder pad to the waistband and arms around the hamstring, and this is a textbook play here.
So this is actually the exact same play from the last drive that they fumbled. It looks like this.
We did a nice job of mixing our coverages up against this as well. You know, because it looks like when he makes his initial read, the way that we hide our coverage, it looks like that flat's going to be wide open, but we're actually playing a version of cover 2 here, and Riker then gets to rally to that when he passes that ball off the right way, or that passes that number 1 off the right way here, and he sinks back in, and yeah, this is a great hit. This got the boys fired up pretty good too. This was a big moment. Well, you're literally the littlest guy on the field making one of the biggest hits of the night. This got the juices going. Another sack for us here. We're starting to get some really good pressure. I mean, you can kind of see, I know the film's choppy, but you can kind of see, like, despite the fact that our guys are playing both ways, we've got a lot of gas left in the tank here, and we are really getting after it right now. I mean, we are really getting after it here.
This one here is a D-line position meeting at the quarterback.
Yeah.
So we get him to punt. Game situation here. We decide not to come after this one.
Yeah, I think I said I don't want to rough him. Yeah, I knew that we had the blocks on, but this was kind of, again, one of those moments where I think as a head coach, and you were in total agreement here with this as well, but you've got to be smart about what's going on. Like, we've got we've got a boatload of momentum going our direction. Our O-line has been doing really well. Offense has churned out 2 touchdowns in about, 7 or 8 plays. This was a pretty quick talk on the headset of like, let's be smart. And you said, yep. So you just called base here.
Yep.
What we didn't want to do is well, could we have maybe blocked one of these? I mean, I'm sure we probably could have if we would have kept coming after them. But at this stage of the game, the best thing to do was make sure our offense got the ball and let them come back out and keep doing what they've been doing. We didn't want to rough the punter and suck the energy out of the team in the event that we got that, and I think that was good by you to obviously agree and say, okay, yeah, because there's a lot of people out there that would say, nope, that's what we do. We're going after it. And then, then the head coach has to fire somebody. So
here's the yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just smart football. It's just hey, coach, you say you're a block team. You're not blocking this one. Well, the situation demands that we don't, because if we rough the punter, we bring their offense back out. And then 2, that's how people lose their jobs, because that doesn't make sense in the big picture of a game. So,
well, right. So, I mean, are we going to get any more momentum if we block it? I mean, probably not. I think the needle's pretty close to pegged in our favor anyway.
I would agree with that.
But 2, the thing, I talked the other day when we were talking about our punt block and why we don't recover punts. I'm looking for what I call a disruption, and that's one of 4 things. That's a bad snap. That's a kick of less than 20. That's a return of more than 20, or opponents call a timeout. We don't come after this, and they still kick the ball 18 yards, so we still check the box. We still got one of the results we wanted, and that plays a factor too in knowing the caliber of the punter you're going against. If we're – I don't know if it changes the decision necessarily because of the game situation, but if we're going against the kid from Valpo who's just got an absolute hammer, that's going to factor in differently, where I know if this exact situation unfolds indoors where it's 75 and there's no wind, it's probably at least a little longer conversation to go, from where they're at the 50. The ball's on their own 49. We could get buried here. I mean, he could put this ball on the 7-yard line.
Yeah, well, that kid from Valpo had done a bunch.
Right. So,
I agree. I agree with that 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a scenario thing.
Yeah. I don't know that it changes our decision here. If this dude is, just an absolute incredible punter. Yeah. But I felt like it was a no-brainer because I didn't have a lot of confidence in him to kick a 40-yarder based on how the night had gone to this point. He was struggling a little bit.
The stats that you pulled up with him too, he had struggled most of the year as it was to get off, punts of this length or whatever. So some of that's also some of the studying that you've put into it and everything else.
Here comes Shiloh.
Yeah, so the pressure's on a little bit here now. We come right back with, again, the things that have been working really, really well for us, obviously, as you would certainly think that we would. And they kind of get this one stuffed up here in the middle pretty good, just with a little bit of good pressure from that safety that we really can't get a hat on. So again, the response to this then is, okay, well, if we had a great play right there, we just need an extra hat to the party. Come back now and we use Charlie as a lead blocker. We run our quarterback outside zone that direction, and we get that extra hat, and Lincoln makes a really nice run here.
Yeah, a little disappointed in technique here from Eric. He comes in, tried to shoulder check this guy. I think Mario came downhill on him a little quicker than he expected, and he almost kind of braced for impact there. If we're fit up, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, I was going to say this is one of those things too where it's not great by Eric, like you said, and the kids are out there and they're trying to make something happen on the field. This is not, but we're still. I mean, we're a block away from another massive play here.
This is it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is it. 50. Yeah.
Yep. So this is the same play you call down on the goal line. Here, he comes all the way across. Everybody else blocking right. And we're going to get Shiloh to kind of take a bad angle here.
Yeah. So again, that
He reads the zone. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say that the guy on the backside on this play, this actually, there's again a lot of things and a lot of coaching that have to go into what honestly is a pretty simple play, but some of it, like you were just saying, is getting guys manipulating where they line up at, and then some of that is like Coach Buchanan doing a great job with those guys up front. So what we're getting here to try to stop this stuff is, and they did this a lot this season, but were these double four eyes, which is a really popular way to run an odd front right now. A double four eye front is gaining a lot of popularity in the college ranks, especially, and it's filtering down to high school, and it's been doing so for a couple of years here. But these double four eyes can be a big problem for a lot of people. It makes reads harder. It makes your combos harder. Anyway, so we essentially do exactly what you said from the goal line, and we come back to the same play. And Matt Brown does a really great job here at left tackle of understanding that this is the guy that we're going to run the seal to, and he lets that four-eye go. So to a lot of people, it almost would look like a trap play, but we use our phone, which it kind of is. But the boys do such a great job on the field of understanding the concept. And again, we don't run a ton of plays. So we want to be really, 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 really good at a couple of things. And when you do that, it allows your players, in my opinion, to be better thinkers, and they can problem solve on the field better for themselves in scenarios like this. So Matt understands that, hey, I know this guy's inside of me, but that's who Maxon is supposed to come over here and block. He arcs around him and picks up the linebacker, and then that four-eye ends up getting wing trapped by Maxon essentially, and it makes the play. The rest of the guys do a great job too, but again, the philosophy I think here is what wins out in the fact that we don't run 15 running plays a game, and we don't have 20 passes a game with 17 RPOs off of it. You're watching the film. We've run essentially 3 running plays the entire night, and our kids get so good at the execution of those things that this is the stuff that wins out here. And I think that's a really valuable part of, again, being a play caller. You know, I kind of went on the little rant of the day. I'm not interested in building up clinic film. This play, by the way, is part of my clinic tape because it's such a good play because the kids block it flawlessly, and it ends up being a game winner, walk off, essentially nail in the coffin touchdown. I mean, this is it. It's over at this point. And that's my job. You know, that's the job of a coordinator, is to put your kids in a position to be successful, protect the ball, score points, and it's not about building clinic film. I'm getting the clinic film off of very routine and simple plays that our kids execute tremendously, tremendously well. So, I'm super proud of this play for lots of different reasons. And boy, I'm gonna tell you right now, there have been a few moments in Kelso Stadium history where the roar of the crowd is something I'll never forget. When he broke through about the 50-yard line on this play, I'm going to tell you right now, there wasn't a person sitting down in that stadium that was a Dragon fan, and it got loud.
I also want to give a little bit of recognition to this little double team right here by Noah and Ethan, because we talked a little bit about the conditioning here and thought we could really wear down the big guy, but at the end of the day, 300 and whatever he is still 300 and whatever he is. And Ethan hops into this double team, and I'm going to tell you, they absolutely move this dude.
Yeah, that's 2 big, strong kids for us too.
I mean, they shove him out to the C gap.
Yeah, that's big play. I mean, this is just a straight rip right down the backside A gap here. I mean, this is an absolute shot, and huge play, huge play. Sidelines are going wild. Everybody's a Dragon fan.
I'll tell you what gives me a little bit of hope as a wide receiver coach here. Here comes Eli Hook, one of our freshmen right here, and he is step for step with Chuck right down here now.
Let's not hype it up. I know Matt's going to watch this too, so now Matt can relay to Eli that there's a lot of expectation there in regards to general speed. So this was a big play. I mean, that was such a huge play. Again, off of a really, really small tweak that we wanted to make because of things they were doing, and it hits really big for us right there.
And, kind of one of those situations, this is a nail in the coffin, but I'm still thinking about the math here. 27-10. 18 is a lot better than 17. And we'll make a little mistake here. Avon kind of just pops up, just kind of, resets his balance a little bit right at the snap, and they call us. So that adds just a little bit of theater to this extra point here, but Alex does a great job with it.
Yeah, of course we would be the ones to get an illegal motion or a false start. Of course we would be. Yeah.
Chris Gould's going to make the play of the night right down here and get called for a horse collar.
Really, this was a bad call too. Another really bad call. I mean, I'm going to tell you what. You want to talk about firing up the troops, boy. When Chris made this play, I mean –
at the 10.
Yeah, inside the 10, our sidelines exploded for him. I mean – again, like you said, that's a kid that just found a way to get on the field and just make plays for his team. Had a tremendous year out there on special teams for us, and God, I thought we were gonna get a sideline penalty because the kids wanted to come out there and slap him on the helmet. Oh man, they were so fired up for this play for him, and Chris had some family ties. I think his cousin plays for Cathedral, so. And the kids knew how important this game was, obviously, to just Chris for that. And, man alive, I mean, I thought we were going to get a sideline penalty, and then they throw a horse collar on a play where he didn't even touch the back of the kid. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a little deflating, but I still, again, another one of those moments where we're really starting to pour it on here.
Yep.
Our sidelines are going absolutely wild, and we're really starting to feel the momentum. And then you get this. So literally they come right out for the very next deal, and Maxon does a tremendous job on this play, something we practice with our guys every week, but kind of one of the themes of the defense this week, like I said, was his decision-making in the short to intermediate game had not been great, and we wanted to hide our coverages as best we could. So Maxon does a really nice job here of making this coverage look like something that – we do quite a bit, and we designed the system this week to free him up more than normal. And he essentially just hides almost right behind Hunter here. So he doesn't know where he's at or what coverage we're in. And Maxon just does a beautiful job of sinking right back into the hole when the ball gets snapped. And I don't think Orrin ever sees him because he tries to throw this kind of first level slant here.
Yeah.
It's in front of the post. And I think he just never finds Maxon on this play because Maxon sinks into the hole from linebacker area, even though he's not a linebacker, and he throws it right into his face. And again, you put the ball in a playmaker's hands like that in this area, he makes them pay with a huge defensive touchdown. So I think this is we scored 28 points in 8 minutes. And it just kept going.
8 minutes of game clock, but like 17 minutes of actual time.
Yeah.
I mean, this happened.
It was a
fast.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll tell you, from a wide receiver coach perspective, this is not a really easy catch because I'm going to tell you what, Orrin puts everything he has behind this throw. You're right. He's trying to throw this. This is a backside post back here.
Yeah, he's got two of them on that side. He throws it the shallow one, and we get it.
He's trying to throw this ball right here, and he throws this ball a million miles an hour to try to fit this in this window.
Yeah.
And Hook catches it at 10 yards away from him, 15, 12 yards away from him. That's not an easy catch.
Yeah, he could really throw it to him. He throws the ball hard. So this is huge. I mean, obviously, it sounds absurd to say that a defensive touchdown but it's such a big play. And now, so I guess then in regards to where we're at in the game, at this point, it essentially becomes, I talked to Coach McMurray, who's our D coordinator, on the headset. this now essentially becomes, look, loosen the coverages up, stay over the top of them. The only way they can get back in this thing, again, is with big plays. We've got to know that, keep the ball in front of us, and let's not get crazy and wild. You can see our guys have backed off a hair. We talked to them on the sidelines too. And just don't give up a backbreaker that can get this game back to, a 2-possession game here if we screw something up. So I actually think they bleed the rest of the clock all the way to victory almost here on this drive, and they take like 6 or 7 minutes or something here, and don't get any points out of it. We do a really nice job. Again, they're running side to side. We're just going to chase them down to the sideline here. I think we execute this stuff here in the back end of this game overall really well. For us not being aggressive here, we do a nice job.
Really like this from Riker right here. Just kind of slow play this, set the edge, and wait for the cavalry to show up.
Yeah, he's the contained player, so that guy can't get outside of him. He just does a great job of just using the sideline as his friend. And that's a drill we do every single day with our DBs. So, it's just good practice recall. And, again, I'm willing to give these catches up. Like, if they want to throw the ball for 5 yards a whole bunch, I'm okay with that here. I mean, this to me was a win. We could not give up their patented, 45 or 50-yard backbreaker that they were killing teams with all season. This was all about managing it, make them make the short throws, make them bleed the clock, and kind of play the math game a little bit, even though we don't have the ball. That tight end is such a good player.
Yep.
He is
such a penalty on that one too.
Forced another incompletion. Yeah, that tight end was a big mismatch. We had to change our defense up this week. You've probably noticed a little bit if you've been really kind of paying attention here. We had to switch roles when that tight end was in the game and had to leave Maxon inside at the adjuster position and put Brody back outside at the buck position. So if you've really kind of had an astute eye to that and you've seen those guys playing where they normally don't, that's why. Because Brody was about 6 foot and some change, maybe 6'1", and Maxon was at least 6'2" or so, and had a little bit more body mass to him than Brody in power. So we had to change our plan to when they were on that side to make that switch, and then the opposite side we had to do it with Cade because Cade's about 6'3" and about 180 or 85 pounds or so. So we had to essentially switch our defensive positions and roles up as well for this week to account for that kid, because we did not want them to get an automatic mismatch, with the guy that's Brody's size against a kid that size. So, again, a huge credit to our kids on boy, that was a major adjustment in the game that we practiced that, put those kids out of position a little bit to handle that big boy. It's one of those small details, I think, that went into our game plan that made a major difference as the game obviously got played. So really proud of that.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, this is a absolute rocket out of the arm of Oren right here. How about this throw?
Yeah. He's got a cannon now. I mean, we
saw him moly.
We saw him with that 7-on-7 thing in the summer at the Colts thing. I think that was him, and he was just throwing, laser beams all over the field out there at that thing. So yeah, he's got a cannon.
That's his back foot, about 3 yards, 4 yards inside the hash, and this ball goes to the opposite sideline. That is incredible. Yeah, there's maybe 9 or 10 dudes in the entire state that can make that throw. Maybe not even that many.
I never really got to talk to their coaching staff about this much, but I know we have faced our own frustrations at times on a lack of recruiting on really talented players. Mm-hmm. I think he walked on at Ball State maybe, and I'm going to tell you right now, they stole one there, and a lot of people lost out on one. It might have been because he's a little bit shorter, but that kid can flat out play the game of football, and he knows how to win. So, yeah, they stole one there. He he's got some talent.
So in 2nd and goal now, about the 15-yard line, which is not an ideal situation for an offense, really.
Really good play by here.
Yeah.
You can see how we've switched those guys up, and
Yeah.
Cade's inside and Brody's outside, kind of like I was mentioning earlier, and we're going to do a nice job here. We wall this tight end in and kind of pinball him, which is huge. And then Brody plays that kind of clearing slant really well and puts his hand right through the hands. Get a really big play here out of Maxon. So this is kind of one of the beauties of our system here, and I will say this because I coach the DBs and I have coordinated our defense before for a couple of the years as well. Obviously, like I said, Coach McMurray is in charge of the defensive stuff now, but this is kind of one of those built-ins where, as a defensive back coach and as a planner, this is something that I talk to Maxon or Kate about throughout the week a lot, and we have some freedom in our defense where one of the players is essentially assignment free in a couple given scenarios. And one of those scenarios presents themselves here. You can see they're in kind of a little bit of a stacked bunch here to the bottom side of your screen. And in this scenario, we have the ability to have Maxon free here if the defensive back check calls for that, essentially, and they've got a couple things they've got to do, and we do get an opportunity to get him free here. And when he has that chance, one of the things that he can essentially do is call his own blitz, essentially. And I will say this, we've had this in for years. Maxon's a 3-year starter for us and a very talented player. There are some times where I don't give these guys these freedoms because maybe they don't handle that stuff very well. Just as a general statement, maybe they don't do a great job with the maturity of that freedom. Maxon obviously does, and I have to give them the parameters for the ability to make this call as a defensive back coach, when it's acceptable, what call you can make. And boy, does he ever dial one up here. He gets the scenario that he thinks is good. He has to then communicate with the box players that he's going to blitz and he's coming off the edge here.
So this is a little thing, but that makes Matt have to do this.
Yeah, that sends Matt down inside now, and it makes Hunter aware that Maxon is not going to be protecting the hook curl out there, so Hunter has to be able to loosen himself up and protect Canfield. So Maxon does a tremendous job now, and essentially, you can see their running back is expecting interior pressure here and steps up inside, and then Maxon's got his own number essentially called here on one of our checks and does a great little kind of shoulder check and just big play. I mean, big play. So, again, kind of the beauty of our system a little bit here, where I know what I just explained sounds really, really complex, but quite frankly, it's not. It's very simple for our kids. There's about 2 to 3 things maximum that have to happen here for this blitz to occur, and it's a very simple chain of events. So Maxon being really savvy, having the right opportunity, and making a big-time play. So now they're in 4th and really, really long here. Another big
defensive end meeting at the quarterback here.
Yeah, Kyle makes a really good bull. I mean, a really nice initial punch on this bull. Gets this big D1 offensive tackle off balance here. And him and Matt just really get after those 2 tackles on this play. And a little bit of a party at the quarterback by those 2 there. That was a really fun battle to watch during the game as well, even though I was upset with some of the lack of holding calls. But, watching 2 Division I defensive end prospects go against Division I offensive line prospects as a lineman myself, boy, that was a really fun game in my opinion. And we're going to get another really fun one against Valpo in 2 weeks here with their 2 big offensive tackles. One I think is Division II and the other one's Division I. So that was really a kind of one of those fun little mini parts of this
Mm-hmm.
game that you really appreciate when it's all said and done, of the quality of players on the field that we went against and how successful we were, was pretty awesome.
So little thing here, and we talked in one of the first videos we did about being a play repeater. But why wouldn't you be? So, we just rip off our last offensive play was the split flow zone for the big touchdown, and we come right back to it here.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
If you can be one thing, you should be efficient.
That's right.
So yeah, so really the general thing here right now is, and you're going to see us in a second here make a call that a lot of people, I think, kind of at the time maybe had scratched their heads and didn't really understand it. It's going to circle back to what you and I just talked about a second ago, but the whole goal of this here is there's enough time on the clock where, a miracle could happen. I mean, we could still potentially lose it, and that's again part of the head coaching side of things, where I have to constantly be analyzing the scenarios of, okay, we're ahead. What does that mean? What does that look like right now? And how do we preserve that, essentially? And so as a play caller, it's probably a little bit easier on me in that regard, because I can then manage the plays based on the scenario for the game. I don't have to be on a headset with an offensive coordinator and tell him, hey, this is what I want here. I can kind of do that myself, obviously, and explain to the coach on the headset, like, hey, this is what we're going to be working for here, so we can convey that to the kids as well. And before the series, talk to the O-line, et cetera. So what you're going to get here on that final drive, if you're going to play through it, I know you just went back to the split screen thing, but
well, we didn't have the fourth down play on there, so we ran the 3 plays and the fourth down. So
we'll wrap it up. So yeah, so pretty much what happens on that drive that I think a lot of people were really confused by is, obviously Cathedral's going to burn their timeouts and try to get us to punt the ball away so they can. You're not going to surrender, I mean, it's a really well-coached team, and I've got a lot of respect for Coach Peebles, and it isn't like that stuff would upset me that he's calling. I mean, I would call timeouts too. I'm not going to give up. There's still time on the clock. We're going to do whatever we can to win that game. So, he was the exact same way, and that's good coaching. You're not going to roll over and just die. So we get down in that drive right there to kind of explain this. We get down to about a 4th and 2 on that drive, and we're over on the left hash. They call, I believe, what is their last time out of the game. And obviously at that scenario, they're calling their timeout. We get an opportunity to talk about this. And, I think that everybody in America is going to assume or agree they've probably been in a scenario like that as a coach before. And you are over there with your kids and you are drawing up your punt block. I mean, it is a full cell, no returners, 11 guys, and we are coming after this punt because they have to block it. And
here, I've got it. Hang on a second.
Okay.
The
play is not like a spectacular play, but it's kind of
the 4th and 2.
Yeah, I was right, 4th and 2. So, it's kind of the thought process in that moment, again, as a head coach, is what is the best choice for us right now? Okay. You've got a couple of options here. And these are the things that you've got to really do. This is out of the coordinator's hands at this point. Now I'm talking as the head coach here. You've got a couple of choices here. One, it's 4th and 2. You're ahead 35-10. Okay. A miracle could happen. I understand that. Is it likely? No. Is it possible? Yes. I mean, crazier things have happened in the game of football for sure. So at that stage, my thought was this. what we have to avoid is giving up to them the fastest score possible. And to me, that would have been if we line up to punt and they block it and return it for a touchdown. That was the fastest score that they could get on the board to get them back into this game. That would have to be followed by an onside kick, which they could recover. And then you're looking at the possibility of them doing what they do best, which is throwing a whole bunch of bombs to the end zone and catching them and then repeating the cycle. So in that moment, I know you and I had a conversation and you were kind of talking about the punting and stuff like that a little bit and just putting that out there as an option. And I said, I don't want to punt this. Like we hadn't gotten one blocked all year, and you said that, and I agreed 100%. But when I threw the other option out there, you felt like, that makes sense. And I think those conversations that have to happen between coordinators is really important, and they've got to be open and they've got to be professional. You weighed the options with me in that quick moment, and I told you my reasoning behind what I wanted to do, and you fully supported that. And so my decision was to go for it on 4th down and 2. And I obviously, kind of the general thing was if we convert this and we buy enough time through the conversion, they cannot come back to beat us. It's essentially mathematically impossible. And the game was over. If we don't convert it, well, they get the ball there, a couple seconds have run off, and we're still going to probably have to roll the dice and get a little bit lucky in stopping some of their stuff. But, to me, the risk of going for it on 4th and 2 was worth it, essentially. And so we essentially call our outside zone. Charlie converts it in a big, big way. And we pretty much run the clock out after that. So, yeah, I think a lot of people sitting there like, what in the world on 4th and 2 from inside of your own 50? Why would you go for that right there? That was the logic behind it. I was – because who knows what punt block they're going to run. There's no way that we could have studied for that scenario and prepared our kids enough for that scenario. First of all, it's going to be an 11-man block, which we've never had to really do and face before, and our kids had never practiced it. So to me, that risk was too great to take in the scenario, and I just felt like the 4th and 2 to go for was the right choice there. So it ends up working out, and it doesn't always, but it does here.
I know. I think at some point here we're going to do the 2018 Zionsville game that had been requested by a lot of folks, and we are in a similar situation at the end of that game too, where you make the same decision. Now, some of the parameters are a little bit different. The game's a little bit closer, and we are deeper in our own end than we were right there. But
that was the quarterback outside zone with Zach to seal it. Yeah,
but the clock situation was a little bit different. That was if we get a first down, the game. If we get a first down, we can kneel on it. There's 15 seconds left or something like that. But we're up 25 here with what do you think there is? Probably a minute 10 to go or something like that.
There's not much. Yeah.
And in that situation, we're up 12 with 15 seconds to go. So the game situation is not identical, but we end up making the same decision. And we're not going to punt this ball. We're going to go for it and make it. And even if we don't get it, we're going to make them convert an offensive play as opposed to let them get in there, get on the punter's foot, and the ball's loose. You never know what happens. So that's really interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's a some of those end of game scenarios can get really, really difficult.
And there's a lot on the line here. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people felt like, oh my God, he's trying to score. Like, what is he? No, we're going to run the clock out and then essentially take a knee here in a minute. I did not, believe me, I could have cared less about getting to point number 42. I did not care at all. All I wanted was the big 1-0 at the end of that Friday night, and that's all that decision revolved around. It wasn't about, he's trying to get another touchdown out of this. I did not care in any way, shape, or form about that. You just watched the Decatur game where we pulled up from the 2. I mean, we could have punched that ball in if we really felt like it, but that wasn't the right thing to do. And in this scenario, it probably looked to a lot of people like, oh, they're just running Charlie to run Charlie. No, 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 no. We're trying to win the game and make sure that the game is not in doubt. I don't want anything left to chance here. And the best way to do that was go for that on that play, in my opinion, and give the ball to the big boy and seal the game. I mean, that was it. That was strictly the process there. It wasn't about points or yards or any of that stuff. It was strictly about being 1-0 and winning the ball game.
So big win, big second half, big momentum shift, and we go on to the semi-state next week and beat a Bloomington South team to get us to the stadium to play Valparaiso. So that was a really fun one. I really enjoyed that second half, and I hope everybody got something out of it. And I think there are a lot of really good little strategy nuggets in there in this particular episode. So I picked the Cathedral game. What I'll give you the cook's choice here for tomorrow.
Well, we have had a lot of people request it, and you just mentioned it. I've had quite a few people that 18 Zionsville game, which, really, in my opinion, we played some great teams. I think Decatur was an exceptional team that year. I think Zionsville, without question, was one of the 4 to 5 best teams in the state that year.
Yep.
And I don't think there's even a challenge behind that. The northern half of the bracket in that particular year, I think a lot of people kind of bashed it because it didn't seem like there was a lot of great teams up north, and people just felt like, New Pal lucked out and went north in this, this breakup this time around, and they're just going to mow through everybody up there. And I'm going to tell you what, that Zionsville team was one of the best teams that we've played in my 7 years here. And caused some major problems for us personnel-wise. And, then we had to go play Michigan City, who I thought was extremely good. And then, obviously you get Decatur there as well. I mean, really a good Harrison team in the region.
I was going to say, let's not leave Terry out here because
that was a really good Harrison team. So anyway, that Zionsville game I think will be an interesting one. We do a lot of unique stuff in that game as well, and there's a lot of kind of those little mini X's and O's that go into that one. And boy, there were some really high-level ball players on that field. So, we can do that one tomorrow. But that Cathedral one, I think, just to wrap it up, was a huge win for obviously our kids to get through the regional. And like you said at the start, that was a game that, man, I mean, you could almost feel the buildup from the time that the brackets got drawn in the summer or in May or whenever it was, because everybody just thought those two are just two titans on a collision course. And I think it got magnified a lot because, that year, last year, Cathedral had beaten Louisville Trinity, who was nationally ranked, I think, in the top 25 at the time. And I mean, they put it on them. They beat Trinity bad. They'd gone and played the GCL schools, and they took St. X essentially down to the wire. St. X pulled away late in that game in the fourth quarter after Cathedral had been ahead almost the whole day. They took Elder to overtime, who at one point and for a lot of the season was the number 1 ranked team in Ohio for a decent amount, along with a team up north as well. So they took Elder at Elder Stadium in the pit to overtime and played an unbelievable game. They had absolutely blown Moeller out. They had played, a Midwest elite level schedule, and people always kind of bash on us for, your conference. It's like, there's some daggone good teams in our conference and some good players and some really good coaches. So, a lot of people just felt like Cathedral's pedigree, I think, would just kind of wipe the floor with, what we play against. And, for our kids and for our program to beat a team that had essentially played on that really elite level and had some marquee national level wins, for us to then beat them was just a huge statement for our boys and for our community, that this small little town could produce a team that could do something like that. Again, we were really talented and we had great players. They had played exceptional ball for us, but when a lot of people felt like it's against the odds to accomplish this, boy, was that something special to come out and perform like that on that type of a stage. So just really, really a great win for our program, and more so, I think, for our community. And I remember being really proud of our boys for how they represented us that night, and I'm always proud of them. But that was a really special night of football, to have it be at home. Like you said, the atmosphere. I mean, my God, the tailgates on both sides starting at noon. The quality of crowd and the loudness of the crowd. It was a special night. So yeah, big win.
Well, we'll wrap this one up for the day. Always take your questions, concerns, anything you want to see, let us know. And Coach, we'll plan on seeing you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great one.